Now every golfer can have a golf ball sponsor using Odin Balls, episode 873.
This is Golf Smarter.
Welcome to the Golf Smarter podcast, Jordan.
Hey, Fred, how we doing?
Doing well. Good to talk to you on the other side of the
this
planet.
Is great.
Yeah, well, thank you for reaching out. I really appreciate you writing to me. You're in Berlin?
I'm in Berlin, and yeah, we can get into the story. It's been a wild ride for Odin, and it's a global operation.
That's amazing. And clearly you're not from Berlin because I don't detect any accent at all.
That's right. I'm flying under the radar over here. Originally from Northern California, and I know we were jamming earlier on Bay Area golf and the Bay Area scene, and also Bay Area local sports, which you have a bunch of stories on too.
Yeah, I do. All right. So but we're here to talk about your company, Odin Golf, Odin. And it's, is it odingolf.com? Just get right
It's
off the bat, or is it
odin-golf.com. Right.
Okay. odin-golf.com. Great. All right. And why should we be paying attention to Odin Golf?
So we are relatively early in our journey. We're the first golf brand to pay and sponsor everyday golfers. So you could say we're zigging while others are zagging. As we say, the stuffy, incumbent, expensive golf brands, what they did for the PGA Tour and the LPGA Tour, and I guess to an extent now Live, we're doing for, which actually is most of the rest of the market, 99% of golfers. It's the everyday golfers, and it's the four of us who started Odin. We're everyday golfers, so we're building kind of in a way out of our own need, and that's kind of the big corner and big thing we stand for as a brand.
It's a unique concept, not one that I've seen before. Let's go really deep into that, because I have this audience that I think would be fascinated about participating in being paid to play or being sponsored.
Right.
I whether I'm paid or not is one thing, but having my own sponsor on the golf course is a really cool idea.
We love it too, and we're seeing that too from our community, and our customers too are kind of this rabid group who like what we're doing. And I mean, if we're going to zoom out a little bit, the macro of it is we as everyday golfers are just spending a ton, copious amounts of money over the years on all things golf. So this is more about kind of our story and the vision we have for Odin, in addition to the balls and the offering we have and brand and products. It's really kind of what we stand for and what we believe is the future of associating with the consumer brand and digital consumption of, hey, if you associate with the brand, you get a killer product experience, but you also get something on top of that you're not just a number in the marketing engine or the cog of whatever's happening. For a golf brand or any consumer brand you look at today that we associate with a Google, a Facebook, a DoorDash, a Spotify, we are all numbers. And for us, our vision for this is say, look, we as a brand want to get back to you personally, and we want to give you all the goodies that a DJ or a Rory or an Ellie would get. Like, why can't you get that? And it's kind of part of our ethos as a brand, and it's really, I think the start of what we have and part of the ultimate North Star vision we have too.
And where did that idea come from?
So we can, I think, back up and explain Odin, how we started as the four of us everyday golfers. So we started in Berlin, where I'm calling in from, Berlin, the grungy but sexy city that we talked about earlier. Very eclectic, very much like SF too, part of why I like it so much. Very open, crazy, has a lot of nuances, great history. Now, golf, on the other hand, in Germany, that's another story. The culture, love the culture, but the golf culture is very interesting to say the least. So you actually need a license to play golf here. You may have heard about that. It's essentially, so get this, you need a license to play, and it's like going to take a DMV test, you have someone follow you in a golf cart with a checklist, making sure, watching you play 18 holes and having a checklist as you play, and then they give you a license, and then you can go play at a course. So when I first moved here, being from the Bay Area, Northern California, one of the golf meccas, obviously, I basically like flipped on the bird and said like, no, I'm not taking a license to play golf. Like this is what are you running here? And
How
eventually
Californian of you.
oh, I know. Yeah. The rebel, the rebellious everyday golfer. So I basically said, I was like, look, I'm a member at Pebble Beach, even though I'm not, and there's no membership there, but they heard Pebble Beach, and I was basically in from that point onward. So, Fred, I think we get creative as entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah, we try. We try.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
But,
and obviously, the other thing is, it goes without saying, there's four, separate seasons here, so we're in the middle of the winter here, and the ground is like hitting off granite. So yeah, while California and NorCal's getting a lot of rain right now, it sure beats hitting off a bowling alley.
yeah, yeah. How many golf
Yeah.
courses are there to choose from
There's not a
where you are in
ton.
Berlin?
So where I'm at in kind of the somewhat northern central part of the country, there's they're spread out outside the city. There's we'd probably have to fact check on it. 500 courses in the country, something like that.
Oh, okay.
Um, yeah, maybe there's a listener that can write an angry email and fact check me on that. But um, yeah, it's and the Muni courses, you're paying $75. It's they're not like amazing courses. There are very nice courses here. I will say I have not played them where they play a lot of the European tour events, but it's slim pickings. I mean, again, we're
Yeah.
spoiled in California, right?
Yeah, right. So, and are the court? Is it expensive to play golf in
It
Germany?
is. It is. The green fees are expensive. The gear and the equipment is very expensive. The demographic is much different too. It's an older demographic. So when I told people here that I played golf, they looked at me funny and said, well, you're not, retired and and all that thing." I said, "Yeah, no, this is." And I explained it's much different in the U.S. and in the U.K. to an extent, Canada. That there's other golf cultures out there that are much different. People drinking and playing music on the course and lewd and lascivious acts. We're kidding, of course, but you never know, right?
I'm kind of surprised of what I'm hearing about this. So it's a retired man's game. And probably, and I don't mean to say man's game, but it probably is. I can't imagine there's a lot of women playing golf in Germany. And you need a license. You have to
Right.
be approved by the government to go out and play golf. And so when you
That's
go to book a tee time, do you have to give your what's the process of just booking one, and what do they ask you?
yeah. So you have it's called
May I
a
see your
Platzreife.
passport, please?
Yeah, the passport. Yeah, the let me see your documentation. There's a card that they give you, and you're part of basically a club. It could be an online club. They just want to see that you're associated. They just want to see if you're legit, which I could have just saved them all the heartache and just say, let me just watch me swing off the first tee, and then we'll see if it's legit or not. But there's every culture has their quirks, Fred, and risk aversion and paperwork and making sure everything's neat and tight is one of them. But there's many incredible things about living here that I love, and it's a great place. I love it. In addition to that,
Wow. Listen, we're going to take a quick break right now. I want to come back, and we were starting to get the story of Odin, and I stopped you about my fascination with this German licensing, but we will get back to Odin, and we're going to do that after we hear a couple of messages from our sponsors. So you said there's four of you that started Odin together. Are the other three Americans also expats living in Germany, or are they Germans? Who did you find? How did you put this team together?
So we have two Germans on the team, one Brit, and I'm the token expat with all the horrible jokes that still never land. It's a lot of it's East Coast humor sprinkled in sarcasm. It's a tough crowd. What was the Roddy Danger thing on the Tonight Show? Get me another mic here. So it's that kind of thing.
Okay. And what was the initial concept to create Odin between the four of you? I'm sure sitting around drinking lots of beer.
Well, of course, that's definitely part of the equation. So the four of us, our backgrounds are in the high tech world. So we've built and scaled consumer tech companies in Europe, in the U.S., food delivery, ride sharing, etc. So really, being as consumers and kind of consumer tech geeks, that was kind of the angle and lens that we have that we can kind of park to the side here, which will make sense as we get into the story. So the four of us are everyday golfers. We kind of created this tech golf league meetup group, which is very small, of a bunch of expats and that sort of thing in Berlin. People who are golf nuts and wanted to kind of get their golf fix, which is very cool actually during the summer because it gets dark at 10:30. So the twilight rounds are quite epic.
Oh, wow.
You can get off work at 6 and play 18. That kind of thing, and then have a schnitzel waiting for you on the other side.
Sounds like heaven.
Oh, it is. So the four of us, Christoph, Phil, James, and myself, we were on the course one day. And again, we're not amazing golfers, between 12 and probably a 25 handicap. So we were on the course one day and we're just having a god awful round. We're donating to the lake, the forest, essentially spraying marketing material all over the course. We literally just emptied out our bags and looked at each other and we said, well, look, why are we losing golf balls of brands? They're old, they're stuffy, they're expensive. Some of them have been around 100 years and they don't speak to us as the next generation of golfers, like the digital natives who are also consuming things in new and innovative ways. Why aren't we losing our own golf balls? So that was kind of the seed crystal, the idea for Odin. And for us being very tech geeks and working in the software world, we said, look, we want to bring Odin to everyday golfers around the globe. So the vision we have for Odin is this platform for the everyday golfer. So it's not only a destination where you can get your balls and your gear, but also we have ambitions to build a digital experience, and we can get into the get paid to play golf of gamifying golf for the everyday golfer. And this is kind of our first brick towards that part of the vision. So we spent, before we came out of the gate with anything, launched the company, we had a couple core tenets that we wanted to do. And the first thing was, we said we want to come out of the gate with a golf ball. Like, we want to come out with something very compelling, give something that you would get from a traditional brand. But as we say, we reload without the guilt. Like, you shouldn't be dropping 50 beans on a dozen, like $34.99, which is one of our tour level ball, which you're yet to try out, and give you experience that you would get from those brands. So that was the first thing. And the other thing we said, like, look, when you start a company, I mean, you know this from your multitude of years experience, building things, you really need at least one thing to innovate on, one or two things. It could be a product, it could be a brand, it could be a business model, it could be a go-to-market, could be marketing campaign, whatever it is, you need at least one thing, because we as consumers, first off, we're incredibly fickle. Like, where you're only as good as we say your latest reel on Instagram or TikTok video or YouTube video. We're just inundated with so many options. And the bar is incredibly high, a la Uber, again, Instacart, DoorDash, it's always on, right? Which is incredible. But that means that you as a company, as a brand, and when you deliver a product, we said, look, this has to be a 50 or 100x brand experience for someone. We can't just come out. We don't want to come out and just be another ball company or another hat company or whatever the, fill in the blank AI swing assistant, whatever the, the example is. in the golf context. And the third
Yeah.
thing was we said, look, we want to be grassroots and meet the everyday golfer where he or she's at the local muni course, wherever they're hanging out, we want to be. So we spent 9 months testing, basically building a ball from the ground up, and we wanted to hit all the everyday golfer player types. And for us, we said like we want to get it. The four of us have different swing speeds, and we can. I know you had a question around what's the right ball for me and that sort of thing, and we kind of again took it as from a software world around the utility of something, not so much around, because traditionally when you buy a ball there's all things around the technical specs and the engineering, and it's most people don't know what it is and what it means, and they don't frankly care. From what we found, I mean, we didn't care. We said like, what's the utility I'm going to get, so this is a somewhat like better golf experience or great golf experience. I mean, a ball won't solve everything, as you know. I mean, there's a multitude of nuances to golf and swings and that sort of thing. So we basically spent 9 months testing before we even launched, and when we launched, like we the exceeded the expectations, and within 3 months everything sold out, and it was quite exciting. But again, like we said, look, like while we're excited about the balls and we want to provide a really great ball experience, like there's much more to the ambitions here that we have as a brand, given the world we come from. And I would say one thing that was interesting in that experience, in the software world, you release something and you get instant scale. You can release
Hmm.
an app, a website, and you can reach really, the possibilities are endless. When you're building quote unquote hardware from the ground up, it's much, much different. So we had to adjust how we build things and say, look, this three things: one's consumer, two, it's consumer hardware, three, there's a brand component. And when you build a brand and when you build a community, it's very, very brick by brick, because candidly, we're bootstrapped, we're self-funded, we don't have a war chest of funds, nor would we advocate for that, because that leads to a lot of not great business practices that we've experienced in previous companies. So we've had to kind of unlearn things that we were used to, but at the same time, it makes it much more exciting because at the end of the day, 99% of company building isn't glamorous, and we're getting hit in the face all the time. And let's face it, Fred, we wouldn't have it any other way, would we?
Well, I'm not so sure about that sometimes. So, were you able to get any funding? Did you attempt to get funding? What was the deal with getting this thing off the ground?
So we have self-funded it ourselves. We got it off the ground, and for us, given that we came from the software world, where over the better part of the last decade there was a lot of money sloshing around, and probably not a lot of great business practices too, and we kind of went through that with some of the previous companies we were building, and we said, look, we want to be able to hit these milestones. We can do it by getting this off the ground ourselves, and most importantly, deliver the customer and community value that we want to deliver, without obviously giving up part of the company, and also building in some kind of good practices from the beginning, being on a champagne taste on a beer budget kind of thing. And it's while strenuous, it's actually kind of an interesting lens that, again, we didn't have before, because when you have that kind of funding in a company, as I'm sure you've seen from your experiences, it's you get complacent and you don't have the rigor of how you do things. And also, like, it's the classic startup conundrum of focus. Like, there's 100 shiny things that you want to work on, but there's limited funding, there's limited time, there's not a lot of sleep. So you basically have to get up in the morning and slosh through a lot of shit, and you have to be able to focus on that. So that's kind of how we thought about it.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, I have so many more questions that I want to go over, especially talking about the balls and your sponsorship program. But we're going to do that right after we take one more break here. We'll be right back. All right, we need to talk about the golf balls because that's your primary product here, right? So you
Mhm.
sent me a box of balls, the Odin X1. Here's a sleeve, very nice packaging, quite unique. It's really, yeah, this way. It's really different than anything you'll see on the marketplace, and I think it would appeal to the younger crowd, which is great. This is the box, and with your logo on the back. Uh, Go balls out always. Um, and I've read a number of articles and reviews about the balls that were all really positive. Congratulations about that. One from pluggedingolf.com I loved. He said, Odin wants to give players a quality ball at a price that doesn't make them weep when they lose one. Great line.
Great line, and we were definitely weeping when we were donating copious amounts of balls when we started Odin, so it was very apropos of kind of our journey there.
Yeah. I mean, how old are you guys?
I'm 32, and Christoph, Phil are 36, and James JB is 40.
Okay. So I now completely understand it's like losing a ball means you have to buy them, but you're probably playing a lot of balls you're picking up out of the woods and whatnot, right? I mean, it's
Hmm.
kind of guys like, we're young, we're trying to start something different here. So we can't afford to go out and buy a $50 box of golf balls, right? It's a couple
Hmm.
bucks every time you lose one and it'll make you weep. Um, so tell me about you sent me, and I'll talk about. I played with them yesterday. I'll talk about that next. But tell me about the different balls that you offer.
So we offer two ball types. The X1, which you have, that's our tour level ball, and there's no reason you should be dropping 50 beans on a dozen. That one's $34.99. Plays like a Pro V1 TP5 for kind of the more advanced player, lower handicap, all arounder, distance control spin. That's kind of the vein it's in. And then we have our X ball, which is $19.99. That's extra distance and has a soft core. And most of the distance balls you play actually are a little bit more expensive than that, first off, and they're like hitting rocks. So we
Yeah.
made that ball a little bit better for the price point. So again, like, we didn't come out of the gate with like 100 different ball types and weird, crazy, elaborate product lines and weird, crazy tech specs. How we talk about the ball, we literally talk about it like we would as everyday golfers. I mean, hence our tagline, "Go balls out always," which is going to be very fun when we translate that, locally in Germany and other places. It's like Top Gun getting translated in Mandarin, and it's like two sentences long and doesn't mention top or gun in it. So that's going to be fun. I'm not sure people would get it either. Again, a callback to the terrible jokes that never land. So that was kind of my small contribution of the tagline. Regardless, so we in our marketing and how we describe the ball, we talk straight about the utility. What do you get out of it? And we do explain, the construction of the ball and that sort of thing, which is important. So we've kind of checked those boxes. Like the X1 is a 3-piece urethane ball, and it's a softer kind of shell, and this is what it do. It's higher compression, that sort of thing. But we kind of stop there. Like, we don't need to do anything elaborate there, because for us, like, again, building out of our own need, we don't understand like crazy mantles and 3 times over and triple tracked, whatever the analogy or descriptor is. So that's kind of how we thought about it. And again, like, what's the utility of it? So maybe you can, like, how did you like them when you played them yesterday? What's kind of your candid feedback on the X1?
Oh, so I usually play a Pro V1X
Mm-hmm.
because I play found balls, but they
Mm-hmm.
find me.
Right.
That's the difference
Mm-hmm. Even
because I live
better.
next.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I live next to a golf course. I live next to a country
Mm-hmm.
club, and so I
Yes.
get balls in my yard all the time. And the I've found over time, it's like I can be very selective. It's like, oh, this one's got a scuff. I don't have to play it, so I can play
Mm-hmm.
pretty new balls. Lots of times
Mm-hmm.
they've only been hit once, and they've been hit into my
Mm-hmm.
yard. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I found like if I play a Pro V, I'm going to hit 5 or 6 strokes higher than my normal round than if I play the 1X. I don't know why. I don't understand the difference in the balls. I should. I know that. It's been explained to me and I still don't get it. It's my bad. And so, and when I was reading from various reviews, I'm like, ooh, wait, should I be playing your X ball or should I be playing the X1? And you said, no, your X1 will play well for me. So I played yesterday. Now, granted, we've had a bunch of rain here, thank goodness. And the course was pretty sloshy, very, very muddy. But the greens were super fast, much faster. And I made sure that I played a course that I play regularly, that I even was like thinking maybe I'll hit a different club, but no, let's just play the club that I always play off the tee here or whatever, and just try to do an apples to apples comparison of the Pro V1X to the X1. So there was a lot of mud. It was slippery out there. The greens, I don't understand why they were so fast. It was weird. I mean, I even 4-putt one hole. But my first putt was over 75 feet over a mound that then dropped down to the hole. I got it to the top of the mound and it stopped.
Did you sink that?
No.
Okay. I got excited there.
No. Okay. I did hit a 48 foot putt with a break to the right. I did make one of those for birdie. Yeah, that was great.
Okay.
So it took me 9 holes to get used to the balls. All right. I didn't have a great front 9. I didn't have a good warm-up session, but I didn't get to do that. But the back 9, things started clicking in. And I did notice that the ball was, when I hit it well, was going straighter than I usually hit. I usually have a kind of a fade on the ball, and this was not. This was going right at the target where I was aiming, which was wonderful. I loved that. And it had a pretty ball flight. So I like that a lot. I am committed to playing, and I didn't lose a ball, which was great. So I still have the original sleeve.
Well, we juiced them up for you beforehand.
Yeah. So I did, I did definitely keep that sleeve of 3, and I will continue playing it. So I'm going to continue playing these. I definitely want to, because even though I don't have to buy balls, which is not a thing I should be bragging about, but I love your price point. It is very competitive. Can you guys make money? Do you have enough margin here that you can continue doing this at that price?
We do. We definitely do. And this, again, we don't spend on advertising. And this fits into kind of the community sponsorship of, we as a business can hit our targets from a margin standpoint, but also have room to give you more back, value as a consumer. The one things that I want to dig into here that you mentioned, and this, because you asked earlier, how do you kind of compare balls and give advice to people? I think a listener wrote in and said, I don't know which ball is for me and that sort of thing. All those things you mentioned, for us, it was almost like, again, speaking to the utility, you mentioned, hey, I have a straighter ball flight and I like the trajectory. So we almost tell people to say, look, like, we know Odin's not going to be for everyone. There's always going to be people who stick to the brands and the products that they like. And, I think we're kind of open and candid about that. But the things you mentioned is what we tell people is, try what do you normally play is what we ask. And, the handicap and swing speed and how do you hit it, fade, draw, slice, etc. And then we kind of recommend and have people go with their feeling of it. Because ultimately, you're not going to know till you're on the course. And again, we didn't make it expensive. So that alone, like just trying, a dozen of Odin balls, again, won't break the bank. You're spending on balls anyways. You might as well try them. So that's the kind of stuff we tell people, like, go with, like, I probably, like, if I hit the X1, I'm going to hit a draw. I'm not going to probably hit a straight like you, because we're just so different in how we swing things. So those things, how you described it, like, that's how we would describe it, is, again, it speaks to the utility of it, not like how is this like built, and which is important. But again, the worlds we come from and the stuff we delivered to consumers, like we're selfish as consumers. Like we just we want to know what's in for us. Like we want,
Absolutely.
we want Led Zeppelin at beck and call. We want a chicken korma with naan bread at beck and call. We want local tangerines at beck and call. Like that's how we are. Like we're creatures of habit. So it's the same here. Like we don't need to like boil the ocean with how this stuff works. So I like how you kind of described it, like the visceral feeling. Like shit, I was literally sloshing through mud. Like the greens were like putting on granite. I almost dropped a 75 footer. Like that's the kind of stuff we get excited about. But then on the back nine, like is where it clicked in. Like that's what this is all about, really.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to get deeper into this, but we're going to take another time out and we'll be back after this. In that review at Plugged In Golf, I mean, they get into the feel of it, the short game, long game. He says, for the person who wrote this, he says, first, the X1 spins more. This is fairly predictable as Odin promotes the X as being a lower spinning ball. Matt Saturnus from Plugged In Golf wrote this. And his conclusion is the Odin X1 golf ball is a solid tour caliber ball at a good price, but the X really stands out for me at $19.99 a dozen, and it's even less if you buy in bulk. It's a really strong performer. If you're looking to game a different ball this year and save a few dollars, consider the Odin golf balls. It was a really quality review. I'll leave a link in the show notes to that review, and then the other one was from Niche Golf. And he just said, after 3 weeks of only playing the Odin Golf X1 balls, I can honestly say they performed extremely well. They had a huge advantage I saw right away, which the spin around the greens was definitely better. So another great review. Now, I can't imagine that the greens were different. I have to believe it was the greens yesterday and not the ball that made me miss so many putts. I can't imagine you see a difference in balls when you're putting, unless they're, like rocks, like you said, the super hard ones.
Yeah.
What was your R&D process in manufacturing, creating a ball, knowing what you wanted to get out of the performance, yet what you wanted to keep with your price point?
We started really again with the customer profile and the utility and then worked backwards. So we worked very closely with a manufacturing partner who sent us all different types and we tested them out. And again, it was great because again, we started with kind of the North Star of we want to hit all the different everyday golfer player types. Like we're not building for Rory and Phil, like we're building for us. Like this is our target. Again, it's the maniacal focus on like it's the classic startup framework that we went through. So we tested them out. The good news is the four of us are all completely different players, different swing speeds, different builds, different putting styles, different chipping, different clubs. So it really kind of was a match made in heaven from an R&D process, in that we were able to get like a statistically significant data set with us, and we had friends and family test them out, of course, too, especially for like really like the sticks. Like none of us are sticks, so we got a couple of them to give us some candid feedback on that. And we got it to where the X and the X1, we were incredibly comfortable, and it was consistent. Again, if you read these reviews, they all kind of say the same thing, and that was what we wanted to speak to before we even came out of the gate with anything. Again, harkening back to what we were discussing earlier, like if you're going to come out with something, like it has to be like a 50 or 100x experience. Down in the packaging, we spent a lot of time on. We wanted to make it matte. Shout out to Phil from our team who led the charge on that, of bold, edgy, we wanted to be like unboxing an iPhone, like matte finish and kind of simple, but like bold and intriguing that you want to dig into it. And in kind of our next gen of boxes, we'll explain a little bit more about the ball, and that was something that we learned that people wanted to know. Again, like, and that's the other thing here too that we've learned, and as kind of a baptism by fire. This is, and like a lot of people told us, like, why are you starting a golf company? Like, it's a bloodbath. It's incredibly competitive. There's hundreds of brands.
Yeah.
Again, no shortage of consumer choice. Also, as a market, it's incredibly mature too. Which, for the startup, you need the checklist, right? It's the team, it's the product, it's the market timing, and then a little bit of lightning in a bottle for things to align. And we were kind of joking earlier around, launching something and not having any competitors. Well, maybe the market timing was off or wasn't the right time. So I think we kind of checked all those boxes. But again, like we use like our target persona, and then kind of work back from there. And I think we were excited and pleasantly surprised too, with selling out 3 months into it, and then the grateful for all these reviews of Plugged In Golf, et cetera, of solidifying kind of what we kind of built from the scaffolding standpoint.
Yeah. Yeah. And so do you work with a manufacturer that manufactures balls for a lot of companies, and they just brand them for various people like yourself?
Yeah, so our manufacturing partner actually makes a lot of clubs for a big brand, and and then they make the balls for us. So there's for us, we found someone who is on the relatively small side, but also like is playing at a high level from our standpoint, again, to be able to get the quality we want, because getting that quality, for someone like yourself or a lot of these reviewers who are seasoned players, like, you can tell, like, if you're going to hit a rock or, extra softball based on how you hit it. So that was kind of our litmus test to say, like, hey, if you're going to create something and engineer and build something for us, like, it has to, pass a basic sniff test, and then, 100 more things too. So we found someone that was great to do that, and had kind of a caliber to be able to execute what we wanted.
And because it feels like you're going after a different market, a younger market. And it's so hard to compete if you can't get it highly visible on the tour. I mean, if somebody on the tour plays your product, all of a sudden it can explode on you and really take off. I don't know if that's your target. It's just too hard to compete with companies like Titleist, Acushnet, for that kind of thing. So are you, in your efforts to go for a younger, hipper market, and they even, one of the articles said, from their motto, "Go balls out always," to their embrace of NFTs, Odin is miles from polished wingtips and starched collars. So clearly, everyone can see exactly who you're targeting your product for. Is your availability of these products online only? Is that a way to keep your costs down? Or are you trying to get distribution in retail outlets as well?
So what's great about I love that line, by the way. He's like aspiring Hunter S. Thompson, but for the golf
Yeah,
world.
right, exactly.
So we sell, we again, we said, look, we want to meet the everyday golfer where he or she's at consuming these things. So we sell online, our website, Amazon, Walmart. In fact, Walmart came to us and said, hey, we want to put you in all of our stores.
Wow.
But so again, startup, like, focus. We'll get there at some point. And we sell in pro shops and golf shops, because we said, like, as you just mentioned, getting the credibility and the trust. We found that being in the pro shops and being in the local golf shops actually works a lot of wonders with that. Not necessarily needing, of course, if you're on the tour, that will open up a lot of doors. But as a stage, as a company, and our focus and our target persona and customer, it's where those places are. And with the sponsorship, the Get Paid to Play Golf sponsorship, which we can get into, we sponsor leagues and clubs all over the U.S. So this is the local Muni club, the men's club or the women's club or the Skins game. Like we sponsor all of them as part of this, and they're at the local watering holes and the grassroots part of kind of our go to market. So actually, it's fitting and what we want to do and achieve. And the other good thing too is like as you know, always be talking to customers, right? Like these are the people we're building for. We're building for you. So like we want to go talk to you. Like there's the online channels, but the offline channels are just as important, if not more important, because again, we're able to. It's part of our go to market. We're able to speak directly to our customers and how they would consume and buy balls. And let's face it, like we've all been there, like duct taping balls together. You show up at the course and you look in your bag and maybe you have two old top flights from 1998 and you need to just buy a sleeve or two, and usually buy Pinnacles. You're not going to probably buy $15 sleeve Pro V1s in the pro shop. So that's kind of, again, like solving the customer pain, like speaking directly to what we would go through. So I think in a way it's great that we're able to do that because we duct taped millions of times together ourselves. So that was kind of our framework for that.
All right. So everyone should just go to odin-golf.com just to order from there and forget everybody else at this point, right?
That's right. And with the get paid to play golf sponsorship. So the macro of
now,
that.
okay, I got to get into that deep because now I could see why you'd sponsor me. I've got this audience, this following. But what about you mentioned clubs and leagues, but what about the individual golfer? Do you sponsor the individual golfer, my playing partners? And how does that work?
We do, yes. So the macro of it, and this is kind of our philosophy, and again of how we're building Odin, this platform for the everyday golfer. So when we look at consumer companies today, again to use the examples of before, food delivery, music, golf brands, etc., these behemoth companies that we associate and consume products from, we are numbers and their engines and their cogs, and there's nothing personally we're getting necessarily beyond the product experience. So for us, and you mentioned the NFTs before and kind of the zeitgeist that we have now in tech is this Web3 kind of decentralized concept. And we did launch our own founding member NFTs earlier this year to introduce the golf world to, we don't care about the financial speculation or anything like that of it, but we love the building with the community. You get a financial piece and a part of this as we build Odin with you and build for the long run. Like you should have a part of this. So the analogy we use is like, rather than one Zuck or one Jeff getting wealthy, like there should be millions of Zucks and millions of Jeffs getting wealthy. And backing up even further from that, when we started Odin, we actually said, look, given we're building for the everyday golfer, we actually want our community and customers to own a piece of stock in the business, like own a piece of equity in Odin. And the US has a lot of strict accreditation laws around stuff like this because naturally most startups fail, they don't pan out, and you need a certain amount of net worth and that sort of thing. It's getting better. But it's just not there to what we wanted to do, and we didn't want to do a crowdfunding or a Kickstarter campaign, so we parked that. Fast forward to 3 months ago, we said, okay, look, we're getting the golf world into this kind of future of digital consumption. You associate with the brand, you get a product, and you get a lot more benefits on top of that, and that was kind of the impetus for the NFT launch, like getting the golf world into this kind of future of digital consumption. So we went to our league and club partners that we've already kind of had a relationship with, and we said, look, we're going to launch a sponsorship for you. So for every dozen you buy, 20% of the money comes back to you. You can use it for prize money. You can bring a taco bar in after one of your tournaments or skins games. You can use it for ball reloads. You can treat everyone to beer and grub after on hole 19. Whatever you want to use with it, you're getting a great product from us, and then we want to give you money back to go do anything golf related, pay cheaper green fees, that sort of thing. So that we launched that 3 months ago. That completely took off. We sponsor clubs and leagues all over the U.S., not just California, kind of where our home turf is. And we said, look, like we built this so that it's flexible for anyone. Like you said, your playing partner, and Marin can get the same thing now, and he or she can, they buy a dozen. We give them 20% of the money back. Again, go pay cheaper green fees. Go put it towards a lessons fund. If you want to reload on Odin balls, like you put it towards that. Like again, we don't spend on advertising. We don't want to give it to the behemoths. Like we'd rather give it to you. So that was kind of again the idea there of like, hey, we're building Odin for you. Like you should get a piece of this. Like it's not equity, but it's the next best thing that we can do for you. So this part of the vision, again, the first brick towards that, this kind of this platform, this digital experience where you can, this one-stop shop where you can get all this stuff and sort of digital experience. Now we've started, we give you the money directly through PayPal or Venmo. It's super easy. You just go to the site on the cart, you put your info in, we do it there. The next part of the journey is we have this idea of this Odin card that just gets topped off that you can put on your digital wallet, Apple or Google, and you show up to the course and you scan it, put it towards your green fee, use it on hole 19, use it for your lessons, however you want to use it, like anything golf related. So that was the idea there. Like this is decentralized, the concept of this Web3, that's part of the core tenets of that, like community driven, decentralized. That was kind of, it's Web2 clothing, but Web3 concepts. And again, we're using, the toolkit, the vehicle of the ball to deliver that and then give you the goodies on top.
We're going to take another break and then we'll come back right after this. Okay, so you need to explain this because I'm an old guy. So what I'm not sure about is opposed to getting a 20% discount on these balls that aren't that expensive as it is, you pay the price for the balls, but you guys give me back money, and that's my sponsorship. You give me back, whether it's through Venmo or PayPal, or even giving me an Odin debit card that has cash value to it that I can use other places. That's how the sponsorship works.
That's right. So the 1.0 of this, again in software speak, is the PayPal or the Venmo directly back to you to go do anything golf related. Again, pay cheaper green fees, put it towards your lessons, treat everyone to a round of pops on hole 19. The 1.5 of this is how we envision this playing out is some sort of Odin card that you have on your phone that gets topped off every time you reload on an Odin dozen or two or three, etc. The North Star and vision for this is a digital experience. Again, it could be an app where all of this takes place so that it's not a matter of just wiring you money to a PayPal or Venmo. This is kind of our way of saying, hey, we're early in our journey. We want to execute value to you quickly. So that's the best vehicle to do that is through the PayPal or the Venmo. And then as we build more of the Odin company and product, this will be an app experience at some point for you so that there's no entering info and that sort of thing. So again, like we said, like, look, it's not the Rolls Royce version, but it's a Honda Civic, but it's an incredible Honda Civic. That's kind of how we view it.
That'll last forever. Yeah,
right. Yeah,
do,
with
Civics can do.
Yeah, with crusty seats and maybe dark leather that burns you and in 100-degree weather. But yeah, so that's it's literally like kind of a meat and potatoes like way of thinking about it. But we said like, look, anything to get you value, and this is part of our brand. Like this is for you.
So do you need to sign up for this sponsorship program, or when you make a purchase, you're in?
When you make a purchase, you're in. If you're a league or club, you can sign up. And what we do for them is we do a little bit more on top. We do like logoed balls and logoed tees and polos and hats, and we give them like a full suite of marketing graphics that they can use offline at their tournaments and online on their Instagram or TikTok or Facebook, YouTube. So it's like again, in the software world, like you have customer success. Like if you buy enterprise
Yeah.
software, like you have with Riverside here, there's a customer success. Like once you're onboarded, there's value that you get on top, and that's what we do. Like we're very personal, and again, we're able to do that because we're a startup, and there's a few of us here. But it's whatever makes you successful. Like use Odin in any way you want. Again, we view this as like use this as a vehicle. The ball, the league sponsorship, however you want to use it, like use it. Like again, in platform speak, that's what a platform is. When you use a platform, you can mesh it in any way you want. And again, harkening back to the ball, you talking about the ball, like I'm hitting it straighter now. Like this is great. Like I wasn't hitting it straighter before, or maybe I wanted extra distance and I'm playing the X and I'm getting my extra distance that I've always wanted, and was on my Christmas list for 50 years. Buying balls. However, the scenario is. So like those specific things is how we would kind of frame it. For anyone listening.
Fabulous. Well, it's outrageous. It's unique. It's perfect for Golf Smarter. And I really appreciate you reaching out again. ODIN, Odin Golf, odin-golf.com. If you're in a league or a club or you're at a country club, check it out. Sign up for it. Get the money back. Get logoed balls. It's a phenomenal idea, and help these guys get up and running and get stronger, because they should be around for a long time. I love this idea, Jordan. You guys doing a great job.
Well, Fred, thank you for all the amazing work that you've done circa 2005, which is absolutely incredible. One of the OGs, golf podfathers. So I'm excited, for the journey for you continuously, and all the stories that I'll be able to get. Episode 900, which everyone should be excited about. I'm very pumped for that. So thank you again for. You can edit that out in post. Well, thank you for allowing us to come on and tell the story, and try and weave in a couple of bad jokes here and there. But all kidding aside, like thank you again for all that you do for the community. And if anyone wants to reach out, you can give me a shout, Jordan at odin-golf.com, Instagram, website. Like we're here for you if you ever want to jam. Again, you have feature requests, desires, wishes, just reach out to us. Like we're here for you. We're building this for you.